Yo, it's Monday again. It is Monday, April 18th. Hope everyone had a great Easter weekend. We got things firing up hardcore. We're going to make some real trouble this week, Kyle. I have a feeling it's going to be real trouble. Oh my God.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who I is and who
I am. This is all I'm feeling right now is Vegas when someone started the trouble chant. And I think it was right when Carrie Wise was speaking. It was like trouble, trouble, trouble. And it's the best kind. And we're going to get into some trouble, some good trouble this week. So excited about that.
For sure. You know, you and I actually had a conversation on Friday about how much trouble should we get in. We've never had this conversation before. I've never been in a position where like, how far do we go into the trouble before it's disruptive? It's too disruptive.
Yeah. Right.
And so I think the next 90 days is going to be a little bit of an essence of that. But one thing is for sure that trouble is upon us either way. Right?
Either way. But
okay.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
It's exciting, and hey, this is where the players step up. So we may or may not have had an opportunity to see an invoice which we cannot verify, right? So we're not approaching this as like this is 100% truth, but we think it's important to talk to. So we saw a picture of an invoice from a manufacturer. And, how invoices look for a particular vehicle, and it has the invoice price and it has the much debated MSRP price on it. And there's a gap between the two. And then there's all the questions that go in between. What does the MSRP really mean? Should dealers sell for over MSRP? Right. But the interesting thing about this particular invoice is that it was for an EV, and the MSRP and the invoice number were the same. Identical. The same as in identical. And we were like, if this is real.
Okay.
And
implications. Let's see if we can list just a couple few. You're like, hold on, let me get my long piece of paper over here.
Yeah, no, we're gonna need digital for this.
Yeah. We're going to need to be typing for a hot minute. I think major implications, obviously, it's margins. What do the margins look like? Is this a, just a spiff type deal? Like you get something for selling the car, right? Or so one, are there margins? Is there a way to make margin? And is it more than just the salesperson's commission? And then I think the second layer of that is like the question that everybody's asking. Are we just delivery centers?
Well, right? When you start to put the pieces together, and I can't remember how long ago it was, but I think it was Ford that came out, and they came out with saying like, you can't sell over MSRP. Was it for the new Lightning?
The Lightning. Yep.
And
yeah, that they were going to take away your Lightning allocation if you wwere caught.
Right. So like elements of control to not sell over MSRP. Right. And then, the invoice we saw, actually, it wasn't Ford. So I can tell you that. I don't know. But again, we don't even know if it was real or not. We're going to find out. But either way, like you start to see the squeeze going on, and you start to see the implications, like from the dealer perspective, from a consumer perspective, right? Consumers want to know what the vehicle costs. Consumers don't want the questioning. They don't want the wiggle room in there. Right. So the implication for the consumer, you'd have some very clear and direct pricing, right? Which is why, people have celebrated Tesla and Apple, right? And Carvana. This is the price, even though that's a used car. But consumers are like, I want to know the price, and I don't want to feel like I'm being jerked around.
Yep. This is always a struggle for me. Wondering what consumers actually want out of the buying process, and I think that sometimes we overstep that and we say consumers don't actually want the wiggle room. They don't want the in-between. What that says is they don't want market competition. And what's interesting to me is that, like, if you take Apple, which I know is a completely different sales model, it is, it's high trade cycle management and, newness and freshness all the time. But I know friends that literally every year or 2 years will switch providers completely in order to get the free upgrade phone because T-Mobile is doing it, and then Verizon's doing it, and then Target is running a $50 off, and so now but I'm going to go to Best Buy now because they're running $100 off, and they're getting the gift card for the trade-in, right? So like, I think that consumer sentiment is we want to feel like we win, because the minute that we don't, it's like the reason why Amazon puts on all of their Apple products MSRP, scratch out, and then the next line under is what they're selling it for, even though it's slightly higher than the Apple store, is because there's a mentality that says, like, there was some room for me to win there.
Yeah.
And so I think what really customers want is they want confidence that what they're buying when they're buying it is right priced. And I wonder if this actually loses the dealer's ability to localize that confidence, instead of like being labeled under a global strategy for pricing. And I just don't know if consumer sentiment is going to actually enjoy that the way the OEMs believe it might. Just throwing it out there.
We'll see. I mean, from a consumer, everyone's trying to pursue what the competitive landscape is from a consumer pricing standpoint, from a brand experience standpoint, from a purchasing and buying process standpoint, right? Obviously, that's the OEM's best interest in play to say, like, hey, how can we get our arms around more control? EVs, obviously, a very rare portion in time where, and you couple that with supply shortages, right, where they have an inordinate amount of control right now. So, they're trying to make their move and do what they can. The question is on the dealer side. It's the question we're all asking, is like, where does the margin come from? Where does the revenue come from? What do I have to do to get it? And what does the future look like if the MSRP and invoice are going to be the same, if my inventory allocation is going to be controlled by the OEM? What if the vehicle is actually ordered on the OEM's website? And then what does the delivery process look like? Like, am I going to have inventory on my lot? Am I going to be the one to deliver it? Are you going to be the one to deliver it? And all of a sudden, like, thinking about what that means for the industry is going to be upon us. We have reason to believe over the next 90 days, there are going to be a slew of announcements that are going to, who knows which way this one's going to run.
Can you think of another? I'm trying to rack my brain as you're speaking. Like, can you think of another vertical that the wholesale and retail price are the same thing? I'm trying to think of another vertical. I can't think of a single other vertical where wholesale and retail are exactly the same. There's always margin for the end seller. It doesn't matter whether you're in the restaurant business, the technology business. The lending business, everything.
The only other industry I think it could be, particularly similar would be like mattresses, some furniture, right? Like giving furniture away to like get financing. And you know what I mean? The manufacturer saying, we'll give you money. I don't know. I'm just assuming, because that's a very similar business. Right.
I mean, you got the warehouse direct to consumer model that's come up with things like Purple and it's similar to a Tesla disruptor in that industry. So, okay. So that's maybe, a similar industry that's seen a direct to consumer model, but the legacy OEMs in that industry still have not switched over to that direct to consumer model. They're still going by the franchise wholesaling model. Although I don't know, maybe that industry is starting to see that same level of disruption too. Sleep Number kind of made all their Sleep Number stores. So interesting, very, very interesting to say the least. I don't see another franchise model out there that is following the same suit. So I just don't know.
More of the same, right? More of the same. Automotive not having something to look at to say, how is this going to go? Nate, thanks for dropping that in. He says, man, it feels heavy on this Monday morning. It does feel heavy. I think it feels a little too heavy for this Monday morning. Well, I mean, look, we've been thinking about this and talking about it all weekend long. We want to kick it off, but look, that doesn't mean we don't want that to be misconstrued as it's dire. The world is over, because one thing I know about auto dealers, and one thing I know about the most successful people I know, is that they don't spend a lot of time complaining about what's fair or not. And especially on tax day, right? Like, if you spend, the rules change this way, that's not fair. No, you know what they do? They actually assess the situation. They make their next best move and they keep going. So
exactly.
And
we talked about
they
last
always
week,
seem to win.
We talked about last week figuring out how to become, a recurring revenue model, and figure out how to work that for your dealership, not just like lean on the OEM's recurring revenue model. What other places can you invest time and resources in figuring out new ways to find revenue?
Yeah, I think one of those areas is pre-owned inventory. And
There we
speaking
go.
of pre-owned inventory,
Get them.
Segue.
Time.
all right, we
There
need a
you
little
go.
need a little MC Hammer on Monday morning. This came out probably like a week or so ago, but Honda offering a new expanding their certified pre-owned offering, something called Honda True. It's funny when I searched Honda True 10 years, right? Because one of these things like this are 100,000 mile cars. Guess
Right.
what the second result was that came up? I can't remember exactly what I searched to duplicate it. Was our friends at Mohawk Honda's website.
Wow.
I was
get
like,
'em.
high five for the SEO.
There
It
you
was
go,
organic,
boy.
second organic reach. No one's advertising on it, by the way. And so now Honda has expanded its CPO program, saying there are now 3 tiers in the Honda True program. And they say like this is a market share and a brand loyalty play. They say 53% of certified pre-owned customers are new to the brand, right? So more than half of the people that buy a certified pre-owned Honda are new to Honda. And
Wow.
42% of those buyers return to buy a new Honda. So in this program, Honda is now expanding cars up to 100,000 miles. You know, Honda's like great reliability. They're saying there's good life in there, and they're giving some guarantees when you buy that car. Obviously, it's not like a massive warranty, but they're like, you can drive away with confidence that nothing's going to go wrong or break in this early period of your ownership. And I'm a big fan, personally.
That's some nut stats when you think about, I had a lot of these conversations last fall when we started to see dramatic downturn in new car sales, dramatic uptick in used car sales. And how are we as dealers and manufacturers going to like operate in this new pre-owned market in terms of retention? And Honda saying, hey, look over here, CPO drives retention to new cars. So when things like new car inventory start to come back, if you've done a good job selling into your certified pre-owned pipeline, you have a lot higher chance, a 42% chance instead of a 3% chance on pre-owned vehicles that we're seeing into this year of retention happening. I'll take the almost 40% bump.
For sure. I liked one quote from the article that he said, really, it's this life cycle marketing. It's this life cycle brand strategy. He says, we're trying to build a relationship. This is Dan Rodriguez, who leads Auto Remarketing for American Honda, says, we're trying to build a relationship that lasts a lifetime. We look at it this way: to bring young buyers in through Honda TrueUsed, right? So like the lower priced entry level vehicle, graduate them to like a true certified pre-owned, which is a little bit of a newer car, and then eventually move them into a new car. I think that is really smart usage and leverage of a warranty program on vehicles they know they can rely on. And you know what this does? It keeps the inventory in the Honda dealer's lot, right?
Yep.
It incentivizes it to not get, a buyer to not get it from Carvana or a non-OEM, third-party used car retailer. Like, I think it's a pretty smart play.
Yep. So I'm really close, obviously, to Mazda with my time there, and they started this strategy, but then laid off of it, and I don't know why. But they started they had this whole segment analysis theme within their, I'll say Subaru does this really well, but all of their creative across their segments was dedicated to graduating people into new model lines in the make. Right. So essentially they would start someone and all of the creative was for a Mazda 3 was around like an entry level, a young person, and a graduating college student, all of that type of stuff. And then all of the creative led through like the family to the midlife crisis to the, to the holder. It was really a wild trend. And I think if they could have leaned into that for a longer time, they would have seen similar to what Honda's seeing right now. But I do think that thinking about your segments in those, and then like drawing CPO up under that is really a useful tactic.
One of the things we've been talking about in strategy long-term, even as we're talking about EVs, and we're just like, just be the authority in a space, right? Be the authority in the EV space. And this CPO thing, right? This is obviously going to take a little bit to translate into EVs, right? Because we don't have them yet. But now's the time to lay the groundwork. Now's the time to lay the groundwork, understanding your EV CPO game or just the used EV game, right? It's battery life, not mileage. It's, technology driven and not necessarily, mechanically driven. So, look, this is Honda making moves. I think they're seeing over the horizon. I think this is a really smart play as a brand marketer, right? I think it's brilliant. How do you serve people over the course of their life cycle? And what a dealer's going to do with it? I mean, you could still sell an aftermarket warranty. If you're a Honda dealer, right? In my opinion, it's like lean all the way into this sucker. You got a manufacturer working hard to give you a value add and a value proposition. Do it. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more manufacturers leaning into this, like you said, some already are. But I mean, it kind of ties together with the EV game, right? If you're going to kill the margins on a new car sale, right? What are you going to try to leverage your dealer network to do? Move CPOs.
Right? Exactly.
Move CPOs.
Hey, one I saw this morning in Steve Greenfield's. He has a weekly kind of update, but their fund has recently been a part of an investment round for a company called Recurrent Auto.
I saw that.
And so I'm thinking along the EV lines and educating yourself and being able to educate your customers. But this company provides battery reports for pre-owned EV vehicles. So recurrentauto.com, you might want to check it out if you're a dealer trying to lean into the EV market, especially on the pre-owned side. Yeah,
it's funny because this tool solves a really great problem because anyone who's ever bought a used iPhone or a used device knows that, or or a laptop, I want to see that screenshot that shows battery efficiency life, right? It's that Apple metric built in that shows you like, hey, this is about where the battery is in its overall health. So all coming together. It's all coming together, Kyle.
Good.
We got one more story for you. I think with the kickoff of summer travel season, there are also a lot of auto conferences kicking off, right? There's a lot of things going on. By the way, we're going to be in Tampa on May 9th, going to be releasing tickets for our family reunion soon. We should have said that at the beginning. We didn't. But either way, airlines are having a heck of a time keeping up with staffing and scheduling. Booked flights are way up. JetBlue is actually reducing flights to keep up, even after hiring 3,000 workers.
I can tell you this, just a couple Google flight searches last week on travel.
Yeah, because we started looking. We're like, we got a book.
Dude, what?
I think it's record scratch moment again. Like, how much for the that's the only flight I have available, right? Like,
that's a nonstop to Tampa from Nashville. You kidding me? Yeah, so it's real. It's real.
And so like, this is the time when people are doing a lot of strange things to try to or not strange, but a lot of unprecedented things to try to keep their staff engaged. JetBlue is offering flight attendants $1,000 to not call out.
Wow.
I like that. If you don't call out between now and May 31st, we'll give you $1,000.
There you go. Smart. Hey, why not?
Southwest is doing some stuff. They raised their starting wages to $17 an hour. I wonder what they were, because every sign around me is like Dunkin' Donuts is $17 an hour. Right. No longer requires most airport workers to have a high school diploma. 15 to 20% of new hires don't show up on their first day for some roles, the airline exec was saying. So wait a minute. So almost 1 out of 5 people you hire just don't show up.
This is real. I remember that in the dealership world. Same exact thing. It's crazy. It's a whole it's just like the last 2 years have been so weird for hiring. So weird.
Yep. Quote from Tim Donahue, co-founder of Airology, a startup that works to predict flight disruption, says the operations staffing will be on a razor's edge, and the razor's edge barely works when things go as scheduled. So if you're traveling this summer, just be prepared to be a little patient. But I think this is just, again, indicative of the fact that the environment is upside down. It's like it never was before. But I am encouraged, and I think we both are encouraged, that people are back on planes. They're pushing hard. It's like that's the indicator that life is moving back toward normalcy even more. And I think that'll be good for everybody.
The world's still flipping, so get in while the getting's good.
That's good. So, hey, sorry if we started off a little slow for you on Monday, but don't let it fool you. We're ready to rock and roll, ready to throw punches, ready to make a little bit of trouble, and we will see you here tomorrow morning. But until then, we got a lot of stuff to put out, so let's go.